Rwanda backed AFC M23 in quotes has been used here extensively. I did not hear a single delegation talk about Kinshasa-backed FDLR. Is it for lack of evidence that this group is backed by FDLR, by the Kinshasa government? I know you have a working methodology in the council where you adopt a language. But is there no objective criteria to adopt a language? Do you lack evidence, even within your own reports, that Kinshasa government backs FDLR?
Investigate Kinshasa and not us. The M23 and the Rwandan government have released statements that are almost similar, saying that the report that was released by the Human Rights Watch regarding the mass loss of lives that happened in eastern DRC that was attributed to the M23 was not done by the M23. Rwanda on its part say that it did not have any role to play in that particular attack. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you about how the M23 is now changing that narrative to fit that they are the victims in all this, as well as what the Rwandan government said at the United Nations Council, and what is the progress of the Doha talks that was supposed to now kickstart again between the DRC and the M23. What are these bare minimums that the M23 is saying that without this, then there will be no long-term solution in Eastern DRC? Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on the Eastern DRC crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, the Human Rights Watch released a report noting that there were mass loss of lives in Eastern DRC that were orchestrated by the M23. And this report was released out in public, and it pointed that the M23 had a primary role in ensuring that there was mass loss of lives of specifically the Hutu population in Eastern DRC. Well, the M23 has not let this lie down, because just a few hours ago, the M23 had a press statement and all the dignitaries of the M23 were there, and they refuted these claims, saying that these were ill-reported comments as well as this did not happen. They in fact invited the UN to come into Eastern DRC and go and investigate that particular report. Also tied to this particular scandal was the Rwandan government, because as it has always been put, the Rwandan government is supporting the M23. Now the Rwandan government at the United Nations Council came out to say that they are in fact not aware of that particular situation, that they didn't have any role to play, and they also invited the UN to go into that particular spot and do their due diligence in terms of investigations to see if at all the Rwandan government was part of that heinous act that happened in Eastern DRC. In fact, it seems as if the more the days are going, the more events are continuing to happen in Eastern DRC and across the world regarding the conflict in Eastern DRC, the more things still remain the same. Because Rwanda is now saying that the fact that people are alluding, and organizations as well, are alluding to the M23 as being Rwandan-backed, then the FDLR in Eastern DRC should also be regarded as Kinshasa-backed. That is, the Rwandan government has gone back to say that the FDLR is a responsibility of the DRC government, that the DRC government is the one that is sponsoring the FDLR. They are saying that Kinshasa is complacent in the FDLR issue, that they are not taking their role seriously in ensuring that the FDLR is well dealt with. But in all this, there was a process that was ongoing. We started with the Washington Accord, the dialogue between the Kinshasa government and the Kigali government, and right now we were at the Doha process, the dialogue between the M23 and the DRC government. Well, that is the specific dialogue that has stalled since, because the deadline for finding a lasting solution for these parties to agree on a solid solution in Doha passed on 18th of August 2025. Now, what does that mean? Now, that means that there are serious concerns about potential breakdown in peace process. This 18th of July was supposed to be the day that the Eastern DRC will find that lasting peace, that the M23 and the DRC government will finally come at a table and say that we have ceased our hostilities. But that seems far to be reached, because as we are standing right now, the M23 says that we will not go on if our irreducible minimums have not been met. And one of these irreducible minimum that the M23 is giving out, they are saying that their prisoners that have since been incarcerated by the Kinshasa regime have to be released before anything goes. Now, the problem is that the M23 is taking these as a prerequisite to any negotiations that will go on. In fact, it is reported that in this second dialogue that is ongoing in Doha, the M23 has not sent any major dignitary to solve the problem in Eastern DRC. These negotiators from the M23 are not the ones who can make solid decisions in Doha. The M23 is giving that as a sign. They are saying that they are not ready to have any major talk unless prisoners have been released. Now, the major contrast in all this is that the Kinshasa government is not taking this prisoner issue as a precondition to negotiations with the M23. In fact, they are seeing it as something that can be negotiable. That's something that they can sit on a table and agree to let go of this and give the other. So this is the stalemate that is ongoing in Eastern DRC. That is why these talks are taking a lot of time. And this is because if you release all the prisoners, it's a political issue because the DRC government has incarcerated these people as criminals, as people who have conducted activities or heinous activities against the public. So these are the people who are regarded as enemies of state. When they are released, then it will cause a political chaos in Kinshasa because the masses will say that these individuals have caused a lot of pain to the public and then you are releasing them. So that is going to be a whole political discussion in DRC, something that the current regime really doesn't want. Remember, there was also that agreement that there should be a full government authority in Eastern DRC. That has not also been actualized because there was different interpretation of full government authority. On the M23, they are saying that full government authority means that, yes, the Kinshasa regime will have that autonomy in terms of financial capacity, banking, and having that authority that this entire territory is DRC. But the Kinshasa government saw full government authority as the tanks moving in, FARDC moving in, the authority, the police, and everything, control of North and South Kivu should be restored back to Kinshasa, something that the M23 says that, no, that is not what we meant by full government authority. So we are seeing a situation whereby both of these parties have similar texts, but different interpretation, different meaning, and that is now causing this whole stalemate of the Doha process, making it to be a long process, a tedious process with no actual returns to the people in Eastern DRC. Well, despite the fact that both of these parties have now agreed to go to Doha to continue with the dialogue, it is important to note that there is still deep mistrust between the M23 and the Kinshasa regime that has caused this pain and suffering to the civilians living in Eastern DRC, as well as the ongoing conflicts in different parts of Eastern DRC. Well, I will continue to inform you of the latest of what will come out from Eastern DRC regarding the stalemate as well as the Doha process that is now resuming. Keep it bona fide.